Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into some really core concepts, things you hear thrown around a lot. Higher versus lower consciousness. Yeah, terms from, spiritual teachings, philosophy, but often kind of vague.
Exactly. So we've gathered a set of sources
Yeah.
specifically focused on what you might call occult or spiritual mechanics. Our goal for you, the learner, is to cut through that airy language. We want to understand the actual engineering behind these states
Mhm.
because, well, why should you care? These teachings say this knowledge is absolutely key. Key to self-mastery, key to escaping that feeling of just reacting to chaos all the time.
And what's really striking is the common starting point in all these sources. It's this fundamental premise. Life is essentially a mental game. We really need to let go of that idea that mind and matter are separate things.
They're not separate.
Not at all. These sources define them as, well, intrinsically linked. They actually state that matter is, quote, the crystallization and expression of mind.
Wow. Okay. Matter is crystallized mind. That's a huge idea. What's the practical takeaway there for someone listening? It's immediate, really. If you want to grasp why your life looks the way it does, your relationships, finances, health, whatever, you absolutely have to look at the mental pattern, the underlying one that created it. Your life essentially is a mirror, a reflection of your thoughts, your desires, your deep beliefs. Realizing that it all starts mentally.
Mm.
That's the critical first step.
Got it. And, okay, before we jump deeper, let's clear up that word. Occult. It comes with a lot of baggage.
It really does, and we need to demystify it.
Yeah?
The word itself just means hidden.
Yeah.
Comes from the Latin oculus, which means eye. So occult is simply the study of the hidden, the invisible aspects of us.
Like thoughts, emotions.
Exactly. Thoughts, emotions, desire, imagination, what some call astral forces, all these things that you can't see, but which ultimately shape the material world you can see.
Mm.
So we're basically studying the internal causes that create the external effects, the visible forms.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's unpack this, starting with the lower state of consciousness. The sources suggest this is where most people are operating.
That's the assertion, yes. And the description is, well, it's pretty stark. Lower consciousness, let's call it LC, is defined primarily by unawareness. The person is just completely disconnected from their inner world.
Unaware of their own thoughts, their feelings.
Completely. Unconscious of habitual thoughts, emotional triggers, hidden desires. They're running on autopilot. And because of that, these teachings use a powerful symbol. They describe this state as being spiritually dead.
That sounds intense.
It does sound dramatic, yeah, but it just means a state of waking sleep, like being mentally buried alive by your own unconscious reactions. You're in darkness, like a grave or a casket, metaphorically speaking.
And the core mechanism here is what you called reactive consciousness.
Exactly. The person in LC is constantly reacting. They look outward at their boss, their partner, the government, whatever, and see that as the problem, the effect.
So they're always fighting the symptoms, not the cause.
Precisely. They spend all their energy reacting to, complaining about, blaming these external effects. And the crucial point is they never recognize that the root cause of the very thing they're complaining about, it started in their own mind, their own internal world.
They're fighting the shadow on the wall.
Not the hand making the shadow. Exactly.
Okay, but I can hear someone thinking, hang on, when the bill comes or my boss yells, that feels pretty external. Why do the sources insist focusing there is the mistake?
Because reacting to the external reinforces that feeling of separation, of powerlessness. The moment you blame the outside world, you've basically handed your power over. LC is deeply emotionally reactive. Things like anger, fear, defensiveness, they just flare up, often before you've even had a chance to think consciously.
That sounds like the fight or flight response kicking in.
It's directly linked, yes. This emotional volatility connects to what they call the reptilian brain, the part that runs purely on instinct and survival fear. So decisions aren't based on reason or critical thinking. They're based on avoiding perceived pain, avoiding threats. You're essentially trapped in that fight or flight mode constantly.
And that constant reactivity, relying on instinct, it must lead to a kind of mental rigidity, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is what the sources call the ultimate ego trap. People stuck in LC often have this conviction that they already know everything, that mental rigidity becomes like a wall, stopping them from expanding, learning, evolving.
So any challenge feels like a personal attack.
A personal threat, exactly. Even helpful criticism.
Yeah.
The ego is this fortress they're constantly defending. And because there's no solid internal sense of worth, they desperately seek validation from the outside.
Through things like materialism or status.
Often, yes. because the internal validation isn't there.
And this rigidity, this external focus, it makes them sort of blind to anything non-physical. That connects to the sensory limitation you mentioned.
Precisely. Their reality is defined only by what the 5 physical senses report, what they can touch, see, hear. They completely neglect or maybe even dismiss what the sources call the spiritual faculties, things like focused willpower and, maybe most importantly, disciplined imagination.
Right, imagination. The sources frame it as a powerful creative tool. But for most people, it's just daydreaming, isn't it? Passive fantasy. How do these teachings draw the line?
That's a really crucial distinction. Passive fantasy, that's LC. It's scattered, it's often emotionally driven, maybe just temporary escapism. Disciplined imagination, though, is seen as a tool of higher consciousness, or HC. The Sorters actually describe it as a dimension, a plane just above the physical, where thoughts first start to coalesce, to solidify into matter.
So like a blueprint stage.
Exactly. HCC views imagination as the workshop, the blueprint stage for reality. If you dismiss it as, oh, that's just fantasy, you're essentially throwing away your most powerful tool for consciously designing your future. LC neglects this completely.
And all this internal chaos, this lack of awareness, the reactivity, it results in what the sources call divided consciousness.
Yes, that feeling of being fragmented inside. In LC, your thinking, feeling, and acting are all over the place. They're not aligned.
Can you give an example?
Sure, someone might think, I want to achieve financial freedom. But then they feel intense anxiety and maybe depression about their current debt. And then they act by, I don't know, binge watching TV or scrolling social media for comfort.
So the different parts are working against each other?
Completely fighting each other.
Yeah.
It guarantees internal chaos and makes it almost impossible to manifest any coherent goal consistently.
Okay. This is where it gets really interesting then. How does the higher state, this causal consciousness, fundamentally differ from that internal battlefield?
Causal consciousness. It's about moving towards really absolute mastery over your own mind. The individual understands that fundamental duality.
Thought for fives. Thought for fives. Thought for fives. In the hush of Albion slumber, where the fall cloaks the blade, empires erode while the idle parade. Big Ben ticks like a bomb in the belly of the beast. Thrones tremble as the undercurrents feast. From Boudicca's fury to the streets set aflame. Icy and he rises, calling out your name. No more pints in the pub, no more sloth on the couch. The enemies fogged in fire while we slouch. They sharpen their claws in the shadows unseen while we binge on illusions, lost in the screen. Wake to the whisper of war at your door. Unprepared hearts shatter on history's floor. Nobody's coming to save you. The silence screams loud, so get prepared to defend what you love and care about now. Arm up your soul, let the fear ignite the crowd. Cause nobody's coming to save you, rise or be bowed. Concrete coliseums where the gladiators train, not a nail-soaked haze or comfort's chain. The foe's been grinding, muscles taut like bowstrings drawn, while UK suns doze till the crack of dawn. Ghosts of Agincourt mock our flabby frames. Revolutions rage in the enemy's games. Ice knees infernal, fired up and unchained. Poetic pistols loaded, aimed at the drain. Merlin's mirrors reflect our feeble stance. Time to forge the flesh, seize the chance. Fear to fall if you falter, the unprepared plight. Strength in the struggle, ignite the fight. Nobody's coming to save you. The silence screams loud, so get prepared to defend what you love and care about now. Arm up your soul, let the fear ignite the crowd. Cause nobody's coming to save you, rise or be bowed. In the maze of complacency, the Minotaur awakens. No saviors descend, your resolve unshaken. I see these thunder, ready to roar through the veil. Enemies lean and lethal, we pale. Shed the fat of forgotten wars. Heed the call or crumble like castles in a squall. Wake the fuck up from the pub to the peak. Strength surges in the veins of the meek. Celtic storms brew in the digital divide. Druids in dread, where the weak can't hide. From Stonehenge stones to the smartphone siege, the uprising urges break free from fatigue. Icini's arsenal, metaphors armed to the teeth. Enemies vigilant, no time for grief. Queens fade the echoes, kings the dust. Fists clenched in fitness and power we trust. Defend the dawn, with bodies rebuilt. Fear the frailty, let the fire be spilt. UK under siege, unprepared no more. Rise resilient, settle the score. Nobody's coming to save you. The silence screams loud, so get prepared to defend what you love and care about now. Arm up your soul, let the fear ignite the crowd, 'cause nobody's coming to save you. Rise or be bound. I seen these blaze cuts through the night so deep. Fired up forged, no more sheep. Enemies home while we slept in the shade. Wake to the war and strength were remade. Nobody saves the soul that's not stirred in the UK's uprising. Let the thunder be heard.